I'm going to be sharing my framework for goal setting. So, for reference, I have a goal accountability partner who is someone who um, is a she's a graphic designer and a marketer, and she and I are about the same age and working toward similar goals. So she and I started meeting every month, and talking throughout the month about our goals 13 months ago. And at that time, I was reading. Part of my goals was to read sections from Money Master the Game each day. So I have a little picture of that, so a little celebration. For reference, this slideshow is basically something that I used during our meeting just now that we have at the end of each month to talk about how the previous month went and plan out what we want from the next month. And, sometimes often we're discussing kind of like big picture things like, oh, I want to make sure I'm spending time with people who energize me, and how I am aware of whether I'm with someone who energizes with me or drains me is XYZ. Or like maybe a few months ago, I was like, oh, I really want to spend more time in nature because I recently moved to a city. I'm used to living in like more of a town out of country. So I took a trip to the like mountains, and I was like, oh my God, that was super energizing. So hopefully that wasn't too much of a tangent. Why set goals? I recently was watching this podcast with Grace Beverly, who was an influencer and then decided to stop making content, and she now has created two sustainable fashion brands. I really liked her story. She's obviously a super, super hard worker. If you listen to some of this podcast, she was being interviewed by Ali Abdul. Maybe you know who that is. So I think we can watch this clip, but she basically just says goal setting is long-term time management. And so it's super cool to watch people like this. I find them really inspiring, especially someone who's passion driven, working in sustainability, and kind of take insights from them and use that to feed my goal setting, because it can be really difficult, especially if you're doing a project that you're basically leading. If you're like a young person who's like freelancing or something like that, it can be really hard to be like, okay, what do I aim for? Anyway, so she's super cool. Would totally recommend this interview with her and Ali Abdul. So another thing she says during the interview is time management is the key to stress management. She talks about basically like sometimes the best thing for she has a book that she was promoting in the interview that's basically about like how to take care of yourself and be productive in the social media age. And she talks about how sometimes the best thing you can do for your self-care is to like meet the deadlines that you need to meet today, or do the tasks you need to do to meet the deadlines today. Sometimes you also totally need sleep, and that can be like worked into your routine. It's really cool to watch that interview because she really applies it to today. And like I think she's maybe 25, 26, and kind of applies it to like the social media age where she's like, I'll be off work, quote unquote, but I'm going to see 50 social media brands on Instagram if I like open Instagram to like direct message my friend or whatever. So I think that it's so nice just to have like an acknowledgement of the fact that that's what that's what our current social media algorithm state is like. And so some kind of like reflection questions I made based on her saying time management is the key to stress management is, am I doing what I need to be doing when I need to be doing it? And am I putting energy toward the ways in which I want my life to grow? So I think that that's something that can always be energizing, no matter how like difficult of a time you're going through. If you're saying, well, I'm taking a step forward to shaping my life, and maybe like, I don't know, maybe if you have like a deep why of like, oh, I'm making my children's lives better, or I'm making this group that I care about's lives better, or whatever. So now I have my February goals. My February goal was to all about doubling down on scheduling farther in advance and being more detailed when I'm scheduling. Basically just having work blocks of what I need to do at each time, getting my Notion and Google Drive more organized, making sure I'm doing things that energize me, like being in nature, and not being around people who don't energize me. So, first goal, I kind of like blocked out with a square just because it's more like personal, or the first result. And I got my apartment organized. I got my Notion more organized. Got my Google Calendar more organized. And I was also really grateful this month to be able to spend time with people uh, who energize me. Like, for example, I threw a game night last night, and I was super grateful to get to see everyone and just like have a fun time. So for some reflection, this goal is obviously pretty vague. It was kind of just a brain dump. Um, and I want to put more effort into writing SMART goals. I think for me, that could even be a case of like when I was listening to the interview with Grace, I was almost even thinking like, I think I can do more learning about how like effective goal setting, and specifically in terms of like making them achievable in a way, or like setting 2 week goals, etc. And I think that's something that's always, you can always learn more about, and there is always more you can get out of it, because like how to prioritize your time is really important, especially when you're figuring out how to basically like make your ideas come into reality. Um, so so even though this goal was vague, I feel like it was totally the right kind of goal the right. It was on the right track of the right goal, because getting my Notion and Google Calendar organized totally reduced my stress. Um, and it's always a range of like they were pretty organized before, but getting them even more organized, I feel like was a totally worth it while investment of time. Um, and grateful to have spent time with friends. And these boxes I've just like blocked out some more like personal stuff. Got my apartment set up, and as I was doing that, I was really grateful to see I had make progress every day written on a whiteboard. It's super cool to sit in my apartment that I had finally gotten set up. That having been something that I have worked super hard toward for a long time. Um, and then here's my like a visual of my Notion, just kind of getting it. I organized it into 3 categories: projects, areas, and archive projects. And then here is my Google Calendar. I was super happy to get the color scheme worked out because it was kind of tricky. And then finally, my March goals are to send thank you notes to people who helped me with a particular project. And then I've got them listed here. I've just got these. And then make progress on learning to code. I just started a like intro to JavaScript course, and I'm really enjoying it. And I really want to basically just like make significant progress on learning to code, maybe like 4 to 5 days a week this month. And then enjoy some travel time. So Kendra and I both talked about how we wanted to enjoy some upcoming trips, and that's definitely something we talk about in our goal setting, is just the kind of like going into things with intentionality and being like, oh, I want to have this mindset when I'm with these people, or like with family, or whatever it might be. Or maybe it's like, I want to network in this specific area, or whatever. Or like maybe work with this colleague in this and this way, or like work with this person, this freelancer I know in this and this way. So I think that's super cool to set that intentionality around relationships, because I think that those kind of relationships are the most valuable thing you have, and it's also just like super fun to work with people you like or spend time with people who you care about. And then following this, I have March action plans. So basically, when I get my schedule more figured out, I'm going to write some of this. March milestones, that's probably going to be a milestone halfway through the month, and then at the end of the month of like how much of the learning to code JavaScript I've accomplished and want to have accomplished. So that'll probably be like 2 points. And then a reflection of like, how will I track this? So I think of this as kind of like from a marketing analytics standpoint of like, what are my KPIs, like key indicators of success. So yeah, that's basically what this is. It doesn't need to be perfect. And obviously it's not even completely done, but I've still sent the intentions.